You're already an established person in life. Why did you decide to start from the bottom, from the trenches, with us out here? My uncle in school.
Yeah, man.
No!
And I showed them my backpack that I got, and like, is this gonna be okay for my first day of school? And they were looking at me like, "Yo, you're just so old, man. Like, put that bag away."
Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your favorite girl here, Ella, a GPLLM candidate at the University of Toronto. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. Over here we discuss all things law, and I take you all on my journey trying to become a lawyer out here in the province of Ontario, Canada. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for riding with me through this journey. If you haven't done so, remember to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notification bell so you get notified whenever I post my videos. And if you have any questions whilst watching this video or at the end, leave them down in the comment section below. Today here with me we have Amin. Say hello, Amin, in the comments.
Hello.
And Amin is going to be sharing his experience with us today, telling us why he decided to pivot from being a tech leader and going through law school. Like, why you're already an established person in life. Why did you decide to start from the bottom, from the trenches, with us out here and do this NCA process and all of that with us? He's going to be sharing his experience with us today. And then for anyone watching who might have life experiences that might mirror what Amin is going to say, I'm sure that this video is going to be very, very beneficial to you. Yes. We start off the video by Amin telling us who he is. So who are you, Amin?
That's a sophisticated question, complicated question.
It's a bad interview question of tell me about yourself.
Tell me about yourself. I think in a word, Amin, who am I? I am metamorphic in this, and I think that word captures and underpins the journey that I've been on, including this journey into law. To me, it means somebody who has, grows, evolves, transforms, builds on top, tries to become better and better and better and better. Life is short, and since I was a little kid, my entire journey, even prior to switching into law, or transitioning into law, I should say, not switching, has always been about developing mastery in certain things that I'm interested in, whether it's tech. When I was in high school, I started one of Mississauga's first internet service providers, which most of my friends were out, partying and doing things.
In high school?
I was in high school and had an opportunity with somebody who had a computer store and they wanted to get into the internet. When I was 14 or 15, I presented at the Toronto Computer Show in front of an audience of 200-300 people with a compact laptop, which was this thick, and a PCMCA card for those of you out there that are old enough.
I don't even know what that means. I don't know.
Yeah, these are old ancient tech, right?
What is this?
A dial-up internet, right? And I kind of went through that journey, very non-traditional, and then I decided to, instead of going into a computer science degree, I had already done a lot around. I was programming and I knew about networking because I'd learned all of that through building this internet business. And so I was like, I want to build on top of what I already knew. So I actually went into an environmental science degree. But my thesis was, how do you leverage technology to promote sustainable development? So again, just building on top of my previous history, but moving into a different area. I think places that in my mind mattered. And then I graduated and I kind of got into, more into tech, and then kind of we'll probably talk about the rest of the journey. But the point is constant evolving. That's who I am. Yeah. And so it's kind of natural for us to be having this conversation because this is just going into law is just yet another, area of growth and, doing something that to me matters.
Okay. That's good, and thank you for taking us way back to when you were even 14.
You got to understand the madness for the rest to make sense.
Because if you were already doing that then, and he was like, why is a 14-year-old doing this?
Well, yeah, a lot of people look at it and go, is this a midlife crisis? No, me upgrading my motorcycle was a midlife crisis. Yeah. This has been my crazy since I was young.
Oh, okay, I see. One thing I can pinpoint, apart from you saying that you're metamorphosing into different areas that you enjoy and you think is beneficial to what you believe in, is the fact that you went through all these experiences, you became a tech leader, and you still decided to leave that and go into law. So walk us through your journey just briefly, because we're going to have another video on AI and tech. So walk us through your journey in that tech space and what was going on through your mind when you decided to be like, oh, I'm going to leave all this and start afresh. So what was that journey like before law?
So it's interesting you describe it that way, because that was a little bit of my thinking when, at the moment I decided to go and do law. I was a partner in a Big Four, consulting. I've done management consulting for a big part of my life. The journey up to that, I'd spent a lot of time advising law firms as an expert. I did a lot of work in digital forensics and investigations and tech and in cloud. And when I got into the further part of my career, I specialized in applied data science. I got a certification from Columbia University in data. Got into AI, got into machine learning, got into cybersecurity. I used to teach cybersecurity.
How many lives have you lived?
This is all part of
my
growth.
God.
This is all metamorphing, right? It's just constantly building. I've always had a unique capability to glue and kind of bring multiple disciplines together.
Yes.
And so then there came a time where I was in Big Four a few years ago, and I was advising a lot of boards and executives, and I'm married to a lawyer. I've advised law firms. That was kind of part of my career already, but as an advisor. And so I thought, what would give me the next level up? And that was like, well, go get a master's in law from, University of Toronto. And that's the specialty that they had here was the innovation law technology stream.
Yes.
So I thought, I said to my wife, I'm like, I'd like to, go do this master's in law. And, she was like, hey, if that's going to, make you happy and kind of go to the next level and satisfy you. Because she knows I'm constantly trying to learn everything, and I got to just do it all, right? I was doing crypto and blockchain and all this kind of stuff.
One day you're going to wake up and be like, I want to be a pilot. I want to fly a plane.
That has crossed my mind. Oh yeah.
Shut it down.
One day. And so then I joined, applied to the GPLLM. I got in. Started law school at UofT in the first part of that program.
In the tech stream.
In the innovation law technology, which is really about the use of AI, ethical AI technology. There's some cybersecurity components to it. There's thinking about health law and data and a bunch of things, and I loved it. I really enjoyed it. But as I started that first couple of weeks of foundations and legal foundations, which you have to do as part of the course. I blame, Patrick Hartford. All his fault. He inspired me.
Call his full name.
My wife. He's heard this story, so it's not. We're not talking out of school here. But my wife blames him for the rest of the journey that followed.
She didn't know what she was saying.
She didn't know what she was saying. So I show up one day. I'm like, I could see at that point. So when I said initially it wasn't, I didn't have a plan to transition into law necessarily. But when I got in, I realized that given the history of everything I know, and hearing kind of where things are and seeing them in the courts, legal decisions that are being made, and all of a sudden realizing that, we're going through an evolution. And it's a serious evolution in society around how technology, especially things like AI, are impacting our world. It's not just yet another tech. This is evolutionary. And all of a sudden I looked at my experience, I'm like, I've been living this.
I'm the guy.
And if I can bridge into the law, I have the ability to make a bigger impact and do something of value and I'm uniquely positioned that others may not be as much, right?
Exactly.
And so to me, I was like, I need to practice law. I need to sit on the other side of the table to truly have an impact. I could advise law firms, they can, and take my advice or not. But when you walk in as a lawyer, you're treated differently. People listen. You're credentialized. It just carries a different level of authority. And to me, I was like, okay, if I'm going to really do anything meaningful in my life, that I need to get there. And so I went back to my wife and I said, I think I want to practice law. And so after the ILT, I basically went and applied to a law school in the UK. did an interactive. I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
So it was online.
Online,
You did the
interactive, yeah. Over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Got my LLB, and also did my law in a Canadian context. I did my Canadian law degree, master's degree at UofT.
So you have 2 degrees from UofT.
2 degrees from UofT, a master's, and then my LLB, which I did at the same time as the master's.
Oh my.
And so that, prepared me to then get into, articling and kind of that whole thing. And so that was kind of the transition. And so it wasn't really, and so I realized at that point, it wasn't leaving one career to change to another.
Mm-hmm.
It was just
bringing one along,
building one along, and leveraging it. And it became more clear to me when I started the job that I'm in at the law firm I'm at now. I kind of did have some doubts initially about, like, did I just leave a 20+ year career as a senior executive, start from scratch? Like, that did cross my mind. And the reality is, actually, the law firm I'm working with and the clients I work with, they actually value the experience I'm bringing, plus the fact that I have legal chops.
Yes.
They don't treat me like I'm a first year.
How can they?
You have those doubts. A lot of people will, like, am I throwing away everything I did? It's not. It is a transition.
The wealth you're working with, there's no way.
You have to experience it. But I can tell you that the value of merging your previous experience is not just, you don't ever look at it as throwing it away and starting over. Every experience you have, whether it's as connected as mine or not, I feel contributes to who you are and what you bring to the law.
Okay.
So even for the younger folks in our class and stuff, you have experiences that make you different and matter, right?
I'm raising my hand for the younger folks.
Oh, come on.
In case I wasn't evident enough.
But yeah, no, but you have you're not just starting over. You bring a wealth of culture and experience and a worldview that all of that stuff matters. Yeah. And it becomes more apparent when you start working and you start practicing. You can see the difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I'm glad I'm hearing more about your experiences. I feel very privileged and honored that my audience, or anyone who gets to watch this video, gets to see the insight of what I think a unique, very, very niche experience that you have had, because it's like you've lived a life and then I don't want to use the word starting over again, but you're building up upon it.
Yes.
And you're being so instrumental in the change that we're seeing in today's world. But from my being in the GPLLM program, which when people ask me what's the best experience being here, is the people that I've got to meet. Like, I wouldn't have met an exceptional person like you who has this big mind, and you're still going and who knows, you might want to be a pilot in the future. But
you said big mind, meanwhile mind. She meant nerd.
No, that didn't. But it's like you're always evolving, and that's great to see. Yes. And being a mature student, you were going through this, and you realize that, okay, this will help me, and then you have from a supportive family, because you're saying that you told your wife this, and she was like, okay, like, go ahead if this is what you want to do. You put your mind to it, regardless of the time difference. You were doing 2 programs at the same time, and still existing. So I think it's natural now for me to ask you, what were some challenges and risks that, looking at the last 3 years, that you would say you've encountered through this journey?
So, a lot of challenges, a lot of doubt, a lot of risks, a lot of sacrifices that you have to make. Mm-hmm. One is, I followed a very non-traditional path. So most of our peers will go and do a JD, or they'll have an LLB if they're internationally trained. And then they'll apply into this process, which then requires you to either, write the NCA exams, challenge exams, or go do, your GPLLM in class and get all of those requirements kind of squared away. So for me, I haven't been in university environment for over 20 years. And so that initially was also a challenge, right? I remember I've got some young nieces who are in university age, right?
I would know my uncle in school.
Yeah, man. No! And I showed them my backpack that I got, and like, is this gonna be okay for my first day of school? And they were looking at me like, yo, you're just so old, man. Like, put that bag away. I'm like, what's wrong with it?
A briefcase?
Exactly. I didn't bring the briefcase. And so my daughter, like, she's about to turn 19. She finished first year at UofT as well. Oh, and I'm in school finishing at UofT. My daughter's in school here too, and she'd like, stay away from me. Like,
Avoid me.
right? So there was that.
I don't blame her.
Kind of like, how am I gonna operate in this world of being in
Of Gen
university
Zs.
again, and Gen Zs and the language and I'll tell you, like, I mean, we're on this WhatsApp chat. Some of the conversation, I'm
What
like,
I don't understand. So
yeah, what are you guys talking about, right? So yeah, there is a little bit of uncle syndrome. That's an honest fact. Having to take a pay cut, to sacrifice, the amount of money I was making, and we were doing great, and both my wife and I were doing well. To be able to pay for law school, which is a very expensive endeavor,
2 law schools,
and then not make as much money as you're usually making, and still paying for the lifestyle, and having kids who are going to university and everything else, that was a big challenge and a risk. Also, because I followed the non-traditional path, even till right now, it's still kind of affecting me in the sense that the NCA won't necessarily do my assessment, even though I have a file there and the LSO has a file on me, and I've started the applications process. The reality is, until kind of all the stars line up and all the pieces come together, then I expect everything should sort of fall into place. The risk is the NCA might turn around tomorrow, as they did this year, and change the rules in the middle of our program, and now you need an English test.
Yeah.
Like, I've grown up here, I've done 4 law degrees,
Created Wi-Fi.
one of which was the King's Queen's English, and yet I still have to go do an English test. Like, it was humiliating, and yet they made that change in the middle of the year. Or you have to do Aboriginal law, which is fine. Like, I don't mind doing that, but it changes the plan
the trajectory,
that I had.
from
And
3
so
years ago.
I had to
policies
switch courses and redo schedules, and so there were risks, because there's no guarantee that even after all of this work, even after I showed my daughter, our final marks came out a couple days ago, and I sent them my transcript, and my daughter called me a nerd, right? She's like, "Dad, you're such a nerd." I pulled a 3.97 GPA. I was like, super happy. But all of that hard work, and
You're
what
still
happened?
waiting. You
Yeah.
don't know.
Am I going to qualify?
It's in the hands of someone
It's in
else.
somebody, and you have no
and
power.
other people that are just going to change policies.
Yes, you have no power. You have no say over your destiny. That's the biggest hard, and it's just faith that you've done all the right things. Things are going to work out. There's always a way, And I think that keeping that mindset of, it's hard. In the moment, you panic, you freak out, and then you kind of step back, breathe a little bit, say, okay, you know what? Things are just going to work out, right? Having people who can keep you grounded, like your family, they help, right? When I start to kind of pull the hair out that I don't have, they know how to calm you down. Right? Okay, you're going to be fine. Like, don't worry. There was always an option, right? So, to me, those were the risks of the unknown. But it's okay. Like, it will work itself out.
It will all come together.
Yeah, I feel that, and everything else around it. Getting a job, working in a law firm already, having a articling position when I'm qualified to article. All of that kind of, we can talk a little bit about that, but it's really, I think you were asking about community and sort of people that support you. It's also that. It's, my family and my wife have been phenomenal, first of all. My kids are older, they don't require as much, care and feeding. They can kind of exist on their own, but they've been very supportive, because we haven't really gone on family vacations for 4 years. When I'm busy writing exams or I'm in exam time, they know, like, I'm just going to do my thing, and they're comfortable with that, and they're okay with that. And they give me the space. They don't put pressure. I can say, hey guys, like, I've got work, I got exams. So they've been very understanding. I had to park my life basically for 3 to 4 years, really not commit to too much travel or anything else. Like, if this was my journey, my focus, there was nothing like, I don't watch TV, I don't watch Netflix. It's just,
I don't have
work,
a TV too. If it
school,
makes you feel good, you don't have time for that.
Yeah, I mean, it does take a lot of commitment and focus. But then the support from even the law firm that I'm working at, like, for them to have seen what I bring from my previous experience and how that can be leveraged, and then roll that into legal training. It's the best of all worlds, right? And so I think that having people who understand you and support you in that way, it didn't come without challenges. Like, when I went through the regulated recruit, I went through multiple interviews. I would hear, "Oh, man, you're great. You're articulate. You're mature. You've got lots of experience. Some skills that others are going to build who are younger in their career. I've already worked with billion-dollar, clients and CEOs, and I can speak in front of many people. I have that confidence. I understand, business and strategy, and like, I've done that. even then though, their processes are so rigid
Yeah.
that to have an older person like myself in a cohort of younger students and articling students and students at law, they look at that rightly and they say, okay,
They don't know where to put
are you going
you.
to fit? Like, what's the
Yeah.
impact on others? Not necessarily that I can't work with younger. I've worked with young people my entire life. In fact, I've worked startup world a lot, and so I'm used to working with younger folks and, like, you know, learning about ideas and being collaborative. But there's just such rigidity in some of the recruiting processes that it takes a firm, you know, networking and relationships and people getting to know you a little bit to take that risk. And so the fact that they took a risk on me, and it's, you know, hopefully it has been interestingly paying out and beneficial, is that's also part of the equation, right? I consider myself very lucky that between the community at home and my family, and then the community in the professional world and my friends, and even in this class, like, all of that contributes to your journey, right?
Exactly. And thank you so much for giving me such an interwoven response, because it kind of touches up on 90% of all the other questions I was going to ask. I was going to ask, you know, what your experience has been like with the NCA. You've told us about what the reality is, and now this is not a reality of, you know, like you said, someone who's maybe from a civil jurisdiction that was already a lawyer, or someone like myself who, you know, I'm younger, but I still just went to UK for law school and came back. It's so niche to you, and having to navigate these challenges, it shows that one thing that is very important that I find is having the right community. And you've separated that. So whether it be family, professional, school-wise, just being in the right spaces with the right people at the right time, going through a particular journey, always helps. I find that, and that has also helped me in this GPLLM program, because I know that if I'm frustrated somewhere, someone else in that group chat is frustrated with me or something.
It has the same
Like,
similar experiences.
we all know.
You're not alone.
I'm not alone. So
Yeah.
even if I'm talking to like a family member, like a sister or something, and I'm like, you don't understand what I'm talking, like somebody can feel the rage, for example. So like, I know that you're not the only English speaking person that had to take the English exam. That was humiliating. Like, that was a whole thing. It's like, oh, everyone's like, well, I showed them I could speak English today.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so I really like that, and thank you for sharing that with us today. So I guess my next question then will be, seeing that you decided to do the GPLM program, just doing the IT at first, and then you saw the light, and you're like, oh, I'm going to do the Canadian Common Law concentration and all of that. How has that experience been like for you in reality, of just being in school maybe longer than you expected? What is that like, or what was that like for you? Because I know you're, knock on wood, the NCA wouldn't ask you to do anything else, but you've wrapped up the program. What was that experience like for you? Did you have expectations coming in, and were those expectations met?
So the volume of work, not that I didn't expect it to be a lot of work. I expected a lot of work. But I think the timing of, like, sometimes, you know, the class is a week away and you haven't received your syllabus yet. So you can't even start reading. So now, you know, I'm trying to catch up with readings and, you know, prepare for class and things like that. I think that was challenging initially. Learning how to write an exam again. It's been so long. I remember.
You probably hand wrote that time, because I hand wrote my exams before going to law school.
Oh yeah.
And I was like typing.
Yeah, we didn't. I mean, yeah, like, did they even have computers or electricity back then? I don't know.
Come on.
But I was the first kid in my high school with a laptop. Let me just tell you. But no, I remember my first exam, written exam that I had to write here. Timed exam was my Canadian criminal law.
First? Oh, that's
that
brutal.
was my first midterm that I had, written midterm that I had to write. Like, you know, we had papers and I did relatively well on that, because that was, you know, that was okay.
A star. Yeah.
Well, it was just a process. You can research and you can, you know, tune, and you have time, and you can write well, right? That's okay, as long as you put in the work and the research, no problem. But when it came to writing my first exam here, oh my God, I had it all figured out. I'd predicted the exam questions, because I use a lot of AI, and I leverage a lot of that to help me figure out things and learn, especially because, like, I'm ADHD. I learn in a very specific way. And And so AI is like, ADHD is my superpower and AI is my accelerator, right? I prepared for this criminal law exam and I was like, okay, we're ready to go. I got it all figured out. Let's go. And then you start writing. And an hour into the exam, the people, proctors are telling you, okay, you've only got like, another
2 hours,
another less than half an hour, whatever, hour left.
Midterm, yeah,
right?
Midterm, less hours.
And I'm like on question 1, okay, and I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, just rushed it through, and I was like, man, like it wasn't that I didn't know I had the content. In fact, I had predicted the exam, and 2 weeks or a week before, I posted in our group, hey guys, I think this is what where the exam's going to go, and there was a Supreme Court case that it came out that was literally about this topic. So I had that all figured out. I was prepared. It's just execution.
Yeah.
So that's a mechanic of somebody who hasn't been in school for a long time. You learn, right? I realized that, okay, I got to work on execution. Not, yes, the
knowing
content.
the content is good, but being able to
if you can't
put
execute,
in what you need.
Yeah, and in the timing.
The marker can see that.
Right. So good thing was that was a no downside exam. I still did all right. I was surprised on the mark that came out of there. Thank you, Malcolm. But then in the final, I was ready.
Strategize.
Did it? Learn from that, right? So I think that was a challenge about being back in school again. As I mentioned, I leveraged AI, and I know we're going to talk about this, in depth later on. Using AI to help you learn is, I can't express that enough. That is, especially if you're working and you've got readings and you've got materials and you got to prep. There's no way I would have been able to do 2 law degrees, at the same time and work. And do all this stuff if I didn't have the ability to compress things. You do podcasts, listen to all these legal cases in an interactive way while I'm driving an hour to work each way. All of that made a difference. Sometimes you just read something and it makes no sense, and I can pop it into the answer. Like, explain this to me in my way, and the AI knows what I need and gives me the examples I need to, and then I internalize them. Okay, and I can connect different ideas together. I don't think I could do that if I was just reading out of a book. A book doesn't connect the dots. So it's partly an equation of compressing time. If you had enough time and the energy to go through all of these different sources, you could probably pull those ideas together, but you just don't.
You don't.
So leveraging technology was a big hack for me to be able to do well in law school. Hopefully that kind of answers some of those questions for you.
No, you did good. You answered me. I just have 3 more questions before we wrap up this video. So I know that at least one of the communities that you are in is like our GPLLM community. But beyond that, were there other helpful groups or associations that you belonged to? I guess your experience is so niche and unique. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else like you that you were able to share these experiences with. So, for example, someone who might be already established in their fields and you're looking to start this process like you have done. Was there any support groups that you had that was beyond the GPLLM program or family and friends and all of that?
So I would say the ones that come to mind, there was actually a few students who were in my class in previous years, as well as the year before that were finishing kind of their final year, who had kind of gone through a similar journey. So they'd done, they'd done their, law degrees and, in foreign jurisdictions, LLBs. They had applied into the NCA process, and so I was able to kind of talk to them. I had another friend of mine who was a colleague in the class who we decided together when we were going to do our LLB and the master's together.
Okay.
He went to a different school, but we both were in class together, and we were able to kind of support each other and talk to each other about our journey, our experience, our plans. I think that was helpful. Being able to reach out to some of those other students previously, just to get their their ideas and thoughts on challenges and things like that, and they had challenges too that they had to work through. So they kind of helped set some of that. They were able to give me precedents of their letters to the NCA and decisions that were made, even though the NCA is not necessarily adhering to those anymore anyway. Things are changing, but that's okay. But that helped, right? It showed me that I'm not the first one through. It's possible. There's a way here. So I was okay with that. other experts, professors, who we had exposure to, who are practicing lawyers in some of the program. I was able to speak to them. I had one professor say to me, I mean, like, once you've had a chance to go and do your articles, apply. We've got a job for you. They couldn't support an articling program because they were a little bit smaller firm, but very niche, right? And so that was, as much as I may or may not, choose to follow that path, the fact that another partner in a law firm who's in my niche sees me and says, you really, you do well here, and it just gives you hope, right?
Yeah.
So your professors, and I made maybe because I'm a little bit older and our professors are a little bit, the similar
Your
age. Yeah, right? Yeah, you can call them all daddy. But I think we relate on a different level because I've got work experience and life experience, and so we can chat with each other, and I've got really good relationships with some of our profs. One or two of the profs have been references for when I've gone to apply for for positions, and they come with authority, because they can see they work in the field, plus they're a prof, right? So that, I think that says a lot. When you exit law school and you still can pick up the phone and call these people and engage with them as a professional, it changes the dynamic. And I've already started, like, I have that relationship with some of them already. So I think leverage those relationships, your network, your community, to help you, right? It's a small world. So.
Okay. Thank you so much for explaining that. Okay. Go to our second last question, and it's, what advice do you have for mature students who are thinking of taking a similar path and trying to coming into the Canadian legal system? Is there something that you wish you had known before you started this journey? And what advice do you have to anyone who might be watching?
So for the mature students, if you're following the non-traditional path like I did, one is, I don't know how long this type of path is going to stay open. I know that the NCA is changing some of their rules on online distance education. They're kind of now moving more back to in-class. And so that may change the approach on how mature students can go to law school and the commitment you have to make. So that's something you need to look into well before, because I think the timeline is maybe 2029. Could be wrong on that, but something like that. Like there's sort of a sunset on when online
things could change.
Online, degrees and things may no longer be acceptable. I don't know. So that's something to look into. I think the biggest part of this is you can't be wishy-washy. This is a commitment. You have to truly want, be hungry, be relentless on wanting to practice law, because you are going to face late nights. You are going to face sleepless nights, time crunches, life,
tears and pain.
As a mature student, like, you have a life, you have a family, you have a job, you've got a lot of struggle. You've got to be willing to not go on vacation potentially. Now, I have a very high bar for myself, and that's something I've always lived by. And so maybe, I push myself to an extreme where I could have gone on a vacation and still, achieved the mark, maybe, but I just didn't want to risk that. I'm just doing this. So, that takes a bit of discipline, and you have to commit, right? If you're just like, if you can't answer why are you truly doing law,
there's no need.
This might not be the right way.
Don't punish yourself.
There may be other avenues to get involved, but I saw that this was my path. This was where I'm going to play. I could see myself working as a lawyer and wanting to, and still realizing that I'm old enough but young enough that I still have a full, cycle of a career left before I would think about even retiring or anything like that. So I have some runway. The financial means, I was lucky. We were able to accommodate all of that as well, because all of that is going to affect you, right? And then you come out of it. And I will say, trying to find an articling position as an international student, let alone a mature international student, is a double whammy. It's already challenging, I think, for international students in this market. And then on top of it, being somebody who is know,
More
who's
experienced.
mature. Like you don't necessarily, every law firm's not necessarily going to see your fit.
Yeah.
So you gotta, it's a little bit more grinding. It's a little bit more, I had to spend time networking and getting people to understand me personally in order for this to kind of happen.
Okay.
So,
That's good. Thank you so much for telling us like the realities of what you experience, and hopefully that anyone who has listened to that will take on that advice. And if you're not willing to take on the struggle, there's really no point, because it's a strenuous experience. The strenuous experience.
Yeah.
All right. So, what was the most shocking thing that you've experienced so far, like in this whole law jurisdiction law process? Just one thing that happened, and you're like, I never knew that this would have occurred. If anything shocks you at all. I don't know.
It all shocks me. In terms of the legal
field. So you're coming from like technology and AI, you've advised law firms, but now you're doing the work, like going to law school and learning about the law. What is one shocking experience? Just one sentence.
I think you're caught in this weird dichotomy of being an expert and not being an expert. And how do people kind of see that and react to that? So I mean, interestingly, like there's lawyers who spent 10, 15, 20 years, 25 years, right, in a field, and they've developed instinct, they've developed experience. And here, I know I come in and I've got like experience in a whole area that they may not know much about.
Yeah.
So I'm speaking as an expert on the one hand, but then we're getting into, law and legal doctrines and stuff. And I still do relatively well there because, again, I'm a nerd. But it's also, they bring a different perspective and they teach you things. And so I'm learning from them and they're learning from me.
You.
It's not always mentor-student. It kind of goes a little bit both ways. It's a weird place to be. But they're really good about it. Like they're open to letting me take the wheel when we're speaking with clients on certain things, and understanding that. And that's one. The other thing is, which I found really funny, like this we were talking about some administrative law stuff, and
I love admin law.
Well, so we started talking about Vavilov.
Yeah.
And we'll realize like some of these lawyers are 15, 20 years out. They haven't actually read Vavilov the way we've read Vavilov, right? So we're the freshness of our legal education is actually
an asset, something
that you have to capitalize on, because there was something I was working on a legal memo on something, and there was an interpretation about mining claims and property law in Ontario, and there was just cases that had recently come out that were different than what the traditional view. And it was all of a sudden like, hey, I was able to surface some of that stuff and make a change, make an impact. So I think the freshness of our education is something you should heavily leverage. It's not don't discount that. It's actually value that you can bring to the table. You've got to be willing to learn and be open, humble yourself. That's something I've learned to do. Is like I've got a lot of experience, but there's a lot of inexperience, and you got to recognize that too, and be willing to just like treat me like I'm new, right, and teach me. That's the shock when you start working. It's like, how do you fit it?
Okay.
Yeah.
I see that. Thank you. I know I said like 3 more questions, but I have 2 more.
No, it's all good.
The more you keep talking, the more things keep coming to my mind. So, okay.
Stay tuned for part 2.
Yes, 2 more and I'm done. Okay, so you're a high achieving person. Have there ever been moments, I mean, you already touched on this, but let me ask it as a standalone question. Have there ever been moments where you doubted yourself through this journey? Like maybe you woke up one morning for 8:30 a.m. class and you're like, why am I punishing myself on a Saturday morning doing this to myself? Like, why? And then why?
Yeah.
And how were you able to navigate yourself out of situations like that when you had doubts?
So there have been, especially in this program where the learning model is compounded and intense. So you're sitting in class at 8:30, you've left the house at 7 o'clock, 7 a.m., 7:30, right? Yeah, some earlier, right? Yeah. And then you're sitting in class until 6:30
p.m.
And you're tired, right? It's been a long day, and sometimes in some cases you're doing that multiple days in a row, especially in the intensives. I think you sit there and you're like, why am I doing this? Like, it's you're checked out. It's hard to stay focused. And in those moments, I think having good relationships with the class, is important, because then it's more than the experience isn't just the lecture. It's the students around, you're joking around, you're socializing, you're learning from each other. I think this class, honestly, is interesting because I've been able to see the iteration of a few different classes, go by.
You mean class or cohorts?
Like our cohorts.
Cohort, okay.
Yeah. I have to say, this cohort has been
The best.
the
Don't
best.
be afraid.
Not in the sense that they've been more helpful to each other, willing to share. Like previous, and I think it's symptomatic of law school in general. There's this idea of competition and gatekeeping and little geeks, and those kind of exist. But here in this cohort, the Canadian law cohort, I found that people share information and like, here's my notes and like, how can I help? And there's I don't feel that same level of it's all about me and competition
Rigidity,
as maybe in other places. And so those kinds of things, I think make a big difference to keeping you engaged and motivated. Have I doubted, why am I doing this? In the journey, yes, multiple times. I'm like, am I going to be successful? Am I going to qualify? Am I going to pass? You get the anxiety of stress of your marks and exams, and am I going to do what if I fail?
Yeah.
What if I tried and I just got the question wrong? Then what happens? Like my plan and the timing and could all be derailed, and the disappointment you fear that if I don't succeed, what is my family going to think? And now I've got to extend my journey by another 6 months or a year. What will my wife say? Like, there's all of these things but also that is the motivation to make sure you don't screw up. so it's kind of
balances out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Thank you so much for answering all those questions. I don't have any other questions for you today. Just one more question, which is, do you have any questions for Ella? And if you do, you have the opportunity to ask me just one question.
One question.
Yes.
I think based on everything we talked about today, what's the one thing that sticks out to you as either something you've learned from that you're going to be able to apply, or something you want to change about your journey where you are now?
So, I'm going to use your words, but you're not the first person I'm hearing that from. The first person I ever heard use these 2 words or 3 words is, you got to be hungry. And that's from Les Brown, who's one of the OG's original motivational speakers. And in moments of doubt, of like, why am I doing this to myself? I mean, I didn't have to quit my full-time, nice paying, job, leave my life that I already built here in Canada and go to the UK and start all these journeys all over again. And I've always wanted to become a lawyer. It's taking me over 12 years and I'm still on the journey, and I'm younger than you, right? But in listening to your journey and your story and your experience has given me that reiteration of, Ella, keep being hungry. Also, like Amin, keep reinventing yourself. So for example, I do love law. That's why this is my 3rd degree in law, right? But there might be other areas in life that I might also be good at, and don't be afraid to be hungry in those areas and take up those challenges. And I give an example, which is this YouTube channel. Not many people who are doing law school or are doing something like what I'm doing, and sometimes when I look at maybe my numbers or something, it's not, I'm almost here 3 years, I haven't achieved what I want to achieve. I feel like I haven't made as much impact as I desire, but it's the zeal to keep on doing what I'm doing. Just keep on building upon that. Keep on speaking to more people, and the more people like yourself and other experienced people in this program. So I've had interviews with people, Miana or Batul or Cristiano, just learning from you all who are more advanced than myself, but we're on the same journey together. It's like, Ella, I have no excuse. So anytime moments of doubts creep in, I tell myself, you have no excuse. There are people who are older than you that have kids that are pregnant and now delivered. Congratulations, Laura.
Oh yeah, congratulations.
And there are people who are doing this. What is your excuse? So stay hungry. That is something that I've taken out through our conversation today.
Awesome. Love it.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone who has watched up until this point. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. Remember to, tell them to like, share, subscribe. like,
Be hungry.
be hungry.
Be relentless.
Be relentless.
Like, share, and subscribe to Ella.
Thank you so much, and thank you for finding out time out of your busy schedule to come have this interview with me today, because I know you're done with this program, but you still found time to come and sit with us today. So
it's
I
my
really,
pleasure.
really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll see you all in the next video with Amin on like AI and all other stuff. All right, bye everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.